In order for a business to be successful and sustainable in a contemporary industry, businesses need to establish a competitive advantage. For this to be achieved, organizations need to establish concrete relationships within their internal structure, coupled with a strong position in the external market. In turn, this will enable businesses like Kia Tea House to devise an effective business strategy, which will provide an indication if the business has a competitive advantage or not in the industry.
To determine if an organization has gained a competitive advantage, we must first start with the internal environment. An internal analysis of Kia Tea House must be conducted to highlight if the organization's core competencies work to individualize the organization from its competitors. Remember, establishing if any organization has a competitive advantage is an ambiguous process, and therefore, an evaluation of core competencies is only one aspect to an organization competing advantageously in the market. The foundation of an internal environment is built upon tangible and intangible resources. Strategically, Kia Tea House is seen to combine their tangible and intangible resources to provide a unique product for their customers. Scholars have often stated that combining resources can lead to superior products and services. Kia Tea House operates in two highly attractive locations, Chaston and Emporium, Melbourne, a strategic choice for the physical resource. Kia Tea House combines this with the capacity to innovate, represented by the modernized traditional private blend of Japanese matcha tea, leaving close competitors as a disadvantage. However, Kia Tea House have two stores in a booming tea industry that is based in high customer flow locations. Despite these locations, they may not be capitalizing on opportunities to expand. However, it can be established that Kia Tea House is functioning in a different market where decision makers are ensuring long-term strategies are based on imminent resources by holding cultural values close to their products. Overall, an attractive location combined with a modernized yet historical tea blend from ancient Japanese culture highlights impeccable service, food, and products. Kia Tea House's strategic resources put them ahead of the matcha game. Secondly, we highlight Kia Tea House's capabilities. Their marketing ability seems to struggle compared to other organizations. The website is precise and clean, but lacks detail of their values, mission, and the reason customers should buy into matcha drink and food. However, we have established Kia Tea House is an exclusive brand that operates in an attractive location, targeting the minority rather than the majority. Therefore, it is possible for Kia Tea House to hold a competitive advantage. On the contrary, Kia Tea House's capabilities are employed by their human capital, including knowledge, cultural understanding, and skills needed to present high-class matcha dishes. Many scholars often also state that these capabilities are the foundation of core competencies, and specifically, Kia Tea House's human capital cannot be overlooked.
Core competencies are the sources of competitive advantage that stem from resources and capabilities. The sustainability of competencies are analyzed using four criteria: valuable, rare, costly to imitate, and non-substitutional. The first competency of Kia Tea House is their employees and their organizational-wide knowledge of the Japanese history, specifically the private Japanese blend of the matcha tea. To the organization, this is valuable as it is a new market take on tea, rare as it is a private blend, costly to imitate as it sets up a unique organizational culture and highlights a strong relationship between Kia Tea House and their suppliers. It is also non-substitutional as this is the core of the organization and it cannot be replaced. Secondly, Kia Tea House's ability to form a modernized take on the matcha through a range of products to meet the differentiating needs of their customers is another core competency. This core competency meets the four criteria. It is valuable as it neutralizes the threats of cafes offering a range of hot and cold drinks, fresh cakes, savory snacks, and desserts. Rare as matcha is used in a unique dessert and savory dishes. Costly to imitate as the recipes and plating design are ambiguous and highlight the modernized culture. And non-substitutional as competitors would not have a strategic equivalent due to the food options ambiguity. It could be said that dishes could be mimicked, however, overall Kia Tea House has security over their designs. However, through our internal analysis, it can be said that Kia Tea House holds core competencies that will most likely be sustained long-term and therefore benefit the organization as it competes at an advantage in the matcha market. When analysing the external environment for Kia Tea House, in order to ensure whether the organisation has gained a competitive advantage, we need to look extensively at the industry and how attractive it is when considering entering the market, as well as examining the competitors through a relevant strategic roadmap to see where Kia Tea House lie in comparison to them. When analysing how attractive an industry is, we're going to use Porter's 5 factors to apply to Kia Tea House. Firstly, threat of new entrants. When entering into an industry, those new entrants can bring new capacity and a desire to gain market share, causing strain to prices and costs, as well as a rate on investment in order to compete. When looking at the threat of entrant for Kia Tea House, it is very low in terms of a matcha dedicated store that sells various teas and coffees, as well as sweets and ice creams, but the chances could be high if they're selling matcha tea as a part of a greater range of the product line. Secondly, bargaining power of suppliers. The bargaining power of suppliers refers to the capabilities of the suppliers to raise input prices or to raise the cost of the industry in other ways, according to Porter. For the suppliers of Kia Tea House, their costs they charge could be high due to the service and quality they provide, as well as providing a private blend for the company. Now, the cost of the matter for Kia Tea House can be due to the fact they are sourcing their supplies from overseas. For Kia Tea House, there would be one or a couple of suppliers for their matcha and other products they use to make their drinks and sweets. The suppliers' goods are critical to the buyer's marketplace success. Thirdly, bargaining power of buyers. This refers to the buyers being able to negotiate the price down charged by those companies in the industries, or even to increase the cost of those companies in the industry by demanding better product quality and service. The bargaining power that Kia Tea House have in their industry is relatively weak due to the fact that suppliers of their private blend would be their main supplier for their matcha, which have been curated specially for them. Kia Tea House would buy their supplies in large amounts and quantities. The buyer's purchases would be a significant portion of revenue in the Victorian market due to their suppliers being overseas. Fourthly is the threat of substitute products. A substitute product or service is when its performance is the same or a similar function as an industry's product by a different means. At times, the threat of substitution is not direct. When the threat of substitutes is high, the profitability of that industry can cause a suffering. The threat of substitute products are both high and low for Kia Tea House, as any company can go and buy matcha to use in their drinks, with different lies in the quality and how it is presented. Also, the chances are low that another company will come into the market in Melbourne doing that same thing that Kia Tea House does. Lastly, the intensity of rivalry among competitors. The rivalry that exists between competitors can take a few different ways, such as price discounting, new product introductions, advertising campaigns, and service improvements. With high rivalries, this limits the profits of the industry. The intensity for Kia Tea House rivalry among the competitors would be low. The competitors such as T2, Gongcha, Kenzo Tea, and Zen Wonders. The rivalry would be low due to the fact they all have different focuses within their business but have the same main idea, which is selling tea. Kia Tea House is a very niche and specific market that not many people have entered, and they are seen to be the leaders. When further looking into the attractiveness of the Kia Tea House, there are 4 main things to look at. Both the supplier and buyer would be weakly positioned when referring to Kia Tea House, but in different ways. Kia Tea House would be weakly positioned as the buyer, as they rely on the private blends. Without their resources from their suppliers in Japan, they would not have the ingredients to make the products they sell. The supplier could also be positioned weakly in this instance because without Kia Tea House, they do not have anyone buying that private blend that Kia Tea House specifically asked for. Secondly, there are few threats in regards to substitute products. This is due to Kia Tea Houses using a private blend. There are many tea shops that sell matcha in Melbourne as part of their product line, but they don't have a matcha-related dedicated shop alone. We will later see in the analysis how other shops that sell matcha sell their products. There is also a very low amount of rivalry, and this is because no one has dedicated a shop that is dedicated to matcha like Kia Tea House does. Also, the entry barriers are considered to be moderate to high when entering the industry of selling matcha tea, especially in the Melbourne CBD and the surrounding areas. Ever since when Kia Tea House opened their first store at Chadstone in 2016, they seem to be the leaders in selling matcha-related products. They take pride in this. When researching the competitors of Kia Tea House, there are 6 main ones, as you can see in the strategic group map. Though they are not direct competitors, as they do not sell identical products, they have the same main idea, which is selling tea. When placing Kia Tea House on the strategic group map along with their competitors, each competitor is placed according to their individual position due to what they sell and their variety as well as their perceived quality and performance. Between Between the three similar businesses, which are Bubble Cup, Gongcha, and Cha Time, they are all considered to be direct competitors to one another, as they sell instant cold tea, and you can also have the option of adding jellies, pearls, and various other things. T2's main focus is selling loose leaf teas and tea bags that can't be sold at the supermarket, and they have quite a range of unique flavours. They also sell delicately designed tea accessories such as pots and teacups. Kenko and Zen Wonders have one store each located in Melbourne as well as an online presence. Their main idea is selling matcha tea, but in a way that you can take it home and make it, rather than a ready-made situation such as Kia Tea House. And finally, Kia Tea House market themselves as having private blends which originate from Kyoto, the birthplace of Japanese tea. They want us to be touched by history and drink the same things that the Buddhist monks do. They want us to know the medicinal benefits, and they want us to understand the private blend of matcha is very special compared to ones you can buy anywhere else. They incorporate this into iced tea, hot tea, iced matcha, gelato, sundaes, and a range of sweets.
Upon identifying and analyzing Kia Tea House's internal and external environment, it may be concluded that the organization implements a differentiation business level strategy. Differentiation for a business is important as it creates entrance barriers and makes imitation by competitors difficult or near impossible. Upon analyzing the core competency shown in the internal analysis, it highlighted the notion that Kia Tea House perform a variety of activities different from rivals. Foremost, the business has an imperative Japanese history infused with its products, which is exemplified through its private blend of matcha ingredients. As stated on the social platforms, a private blend originated from the hills of Uji Koso, Japan. Producing these types of products and quality ingredients may pose a higher cost to produce. However, this permits Kia to differentiate themselves from competitors and command a price premium that counteracts the costs associated with doing so. One strategy utilized by Kia to counter the costs of the matcha blend has been to signal value of the company's products offering to buyers. In this circumstance, Kia has included a medium to high price for their products, which often implies a greater quality for consumers. Similarly executed by notorious companies such as Ralph Lauren and Tiffany & Co., a greater price attached to the product leads to customers in the market being aware of the product's high standards of professionalism, quality, and differentiation. Additionally, many scholars illustrate that a route to differentiation-based competitive advantages for businesses incorporate intangible features. Kia have shown this route by providing historic Japanese product to the Australian niche market and satisfied the matcha needs of their target audience. Kia's attempt to differentiate themselves in the market with quality matcha blends led to focusing upon a narrow market in comparison to the wider industry. Based upon the predicated customer base, it may be suggested that the business is sacrificing the business of numerous other customer segments in order to thrive for one specific audience. Concentrating in on a narrow segment, Kia is likely to provide customers with a product which satisfies their tastes and preferences to a greater degree than competitors in the industry. Identified previously in the external analysis, there was a small number of competitors in a similar industry to Kia Tea House. These included T2, Bubble Cup, and Gongcha. As a result of this, Kia are able to offer the market a distinctive product. Many defined matcha as a powered green tea, which has developed a reputation promoting its health benefits. Due to its distinctive benefits and natural product, matcha now comprises more than 10% of overall specialty tea sales. The above factors identified through the internal and external environments of the organization exemplify these effective differentiation approaches by the business. However, the business strategy still holds aspects which may deter their capabilities. For example, the aspect that Kia focuses on a narrow target market possesses the ability to enhance and as well as hinder their profitability. Kia overspending on efforts to differentiate the market and meet their customer needs may face unresponsiveness from the market or a decrease in demand. Also, this may lead to the business efforts to achieve differentiation in plummeting sales if buyers do not find the product appealing. The current circumstances suggest that Kia's differentiation strategy is favorable with a combination of few rival firms following the same approach of a private matcha blend and being costly or difficult to imitate. Further, as the trend for matcha increases and more consumers are exposed to its benefits, you would expect consumer demand to only increase in the near future.
Based upon the analysis of the internal and external environment, Kia Tea House appears to establish a competitive advantage against its competitors. This is proven through their focus upon a niche target audience and capitalization on a growing market of customer demand in Australia. Further, the implementation of intangible resources through their private blend of ingredients is likely to maintain this competitive advantage in the long term.